I would like to call to order Board of Education meeting for Tuesday, August 18th, 2020. The Board of Education meeting for Tuesday, August 18th, 2020 will be conducted completely online. Executive Order N 2920 supersedes prior instructions and prohibits a gathering of space, even if social distancing guidelines are followed. To participate in the online meeting, please see the link on our website. Live streaming on YouTube will begin approximately at 6 p.m. when we reconvene to open session. The URL for YouTube's live streaming may be found on the NHUSD webpage just before the meeting reconvenes to open session. Are there any speakers for closed session items? I am looking at participants. There are 2 attendees here. I see. Okay, if there are, looks like there are no guests other than staff. So assuming that there are no speakers for closed session, the board will now leave open session and go to closed session. Okay. John, we're moving over to closed session now.
Okay. All right. I'll see you over there.
Okay. Looks like we have everybody here now. Lori, would you mind maybe making me co-host? Okay. The Board of Education meeting for Tuesday, August 18th, 2020 will be conducted and completely online. Executive Order N2920 supersedes prior instructions and prohibits a gathering space even if social distancing guidelines are followed. Live streaming on YouTube will begin now for the open session of the Board of Education meeting. The URL for the YouTube live streaming can be found on the NHUSD Board of Education webpage beginning right now. If you would like to provide public comment for this meeting, you may do so by utilizing the raise your hand option in Zoom. If you are dialing in using a phone number, you can press *9 and wait to be called on. There are currently no member comments ahead of this meeting via our public comment at NHUSD email address. Additionally, we want to remind the public that we will not be responding to questions posed by those making public comments this evening. Relative to closed session items 3.1 and 3.2, there was no action taken by the board. May I have a roll call, please?
Kaur.
Here.
Canlis.
Here.
Chima.
Here.
Wong. Nishihira.
Here.
Yeah, okay, so Jeff was muted. I am here. Okay, that is roll call. Okay, so for the first item today, actually, hang on a second. May I have a motion and a second to approve tonight's agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Okay, so that was member Canlis and then member Wong. Discussion? Roll call, please.
Kaur.
Aye.
Canlis.
Aye.
Chima.
Aye.
Wong.
Aye.
Nishihira.
Aye. Moving on to item 6.1. City Manager Joan Malloy will provide a presentation on the impact of COVID-19 on city finances with a revenue measure placed on the City Council, by the City Council on the November 2020 election ballot. Welcome, City Manager Malloy.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here, and I thank you again for allowing me to spend a little bit of time. I'm going to start my video. There I am. And I wanted to just share with the board this evening, President Nishihira and all other board members, again, thank you. Just wanted to share with you a little bit of information about Measure WW. Our council decided on August 6th to place unanimously on the ballot this fall Measure WW, which is a utility user tax. And I wanted to tell you a little bit about it. As you know, the city has had an ongoing budget deficit issue, and it has been compounded significantly by COVID-19 because COVID-19 has significantly reduced our sales tax, our hotel tax, and other sources of revenues and fees that have been directly hit as a result of shelter in place and people not being out and about in the community and really spending money the way they used to at our restaurants and businesses. So as a result of these impacts that are compounded by the fact that our public safety parcel tax, I think you're aware, is going to be expiring next year. And we had that on the ballot in March and it failed. So we are back now with the utility user tax proposal for the voters to consider. The reason this utility user tax is needed is that we do have a budget deficit that is compounded significantly by the COVID-19, and that also includes all the additional expenditures, I think you're really aware of this, in response to COVID-19, all the additional funding and staffing that has been needed to kind of navigate this new territory. And so we're looking at $11 million budget deficit that will continue to grow over the next 4 years. And what does that mean practically? Well, it's equivalent to 2.5 months of city operating costs. Or you can look at it as being almost 40% of the police department's budget, or almost 90% of the fire contract, or it's 85% of our public works, our community and recreational services, and other departments in the city. So it's a significant amount of revenue that goes towards the daily operation of the city. In order to address this budget deficit, if we cannot replace these revenues and help us address some of the COVID-19 impacts, we would be looking at closure of community centers on a much more long-term basis than right now, right? We have our closures. We are providing some camps and some services that are compliant with the shelter-in-place order. And I know we've been in discussions with the school district of how we can support the school district in the coming year. But those services would be eliminated. It would impact our ability to maintain our infrastructure, including our parks and the graffiti and the blight. It would impact public safety and our ability to address kind of quality of life issues such as homelessness or animal control, something as simple as that. When people call about an animal issue, we have someone to respond. So these kinds of, oh yes, and our youth and family services, that is part of our recreational group. It's housed in that department. We would no longer have any more funding for that. As you may be aware, our public safety parcel tax is the primary method in which we fund youth and family services. So with the loss of that revenue stream, with the impact of COVID-19, without replacing some of that revenue stream, we would not be able to fund that program. So as I mentioned, the council did put on the November ballot Measure WW. It was a unanimous decision by the council. We're very pleased with that. It is a temporary tax. It's set in place for 8 years and would apply to electricity, gas, video, and telecommunication services. It would not apply to water. It would not apply to sewer. This measure would provide about $6.1 million in annual revenue, and it would go directly towards the city's essential services. There is a senior and low income exemption that people would be eligible for. And of course, you're being an agency yourself with your own funds, the funds would stay local. They could not go to Sacramento. It would really be used for operations of the city, and would also apply to businesses. So it's spread entirely across the city among residents, not just residential population, but also the businesses and industries. It would go towards, as I mentioned, those essential services, which include public safety, every level, fire, 911, those types of responses. It includes support for senior citizens. It includes infrastructure support, our parks, our streets, and it would preserve the youth and family services program. So it's a very critical funding source. We're hoping that we'll be able to get it passed this fall. And I'm here tonight to answer your questions and provide you with that additional information.
Okay, thank you so much. I will open it up to the board. Board, do you have any questions or comments related to the city manager's topics?
Question?
Yes.
Yes, Member Chima.
I was just wondering how it will support the senior services to the seniors.
Well, we have, right now we have services, quite a bit of outreach to our senior community. We have food programs that operate out of our senior center. And so those programs would be able to continue. We do quite a bit of outreach. We have a list of members that we are regularly calling. We coordinate with our community-based organizations. We coordinate with other nonprofits, including, of course, the Union City Family Center, Centro de Servicios, and any other senior service activities. We have programs that we work with the city of Fremont on. and they are one of our contractors. The city spends about $250,000 a year of its general fund that goes directly into social service support. That is not Youth and Family Services. It is outside agencies that provide service within Union City.
Anyone else from the board? Questions or comments?
Yes.
Okay, Member Core.
Yeah, just two short questions, actually. And one is just for my reference. What is the operational budget for the city?
The general fund budget is approximately $60 million.
Okay.
That's the general fund. There are other sources of revenues that only can be used for very specific tasks, such as the landscape and lighting district can only go towards landscape and lighting. But the general fund, which focuses directly on city operations, is about 60 million.
And then the Measure WW, is there a subcommittee that's leading that? I mean, we're kind of cutting very close to.
We are,
October.
there is there's the city, I am here as part of an informational effort to provide the community with information about Measure WW. There is a citizens committee that is forming or has formed, but I don't have a lot of information about that. And of course, as you know, I have to keep information separate from campaign. I'm here to talk about information.
Right. And I think just my one last general question is, I think with Measure U, and even the prior measures, some of the concerns have been it's one-time money that's being tied to ongoing entities, right? Just for my understanding, how will the funding or the revenue from WW really be used for the 8 years that it does bring in $6 million?
It goes into the general fund, so it is used for general operations. But I will tell you, the public safety parcel tax goes directly. This is what will be expiring next year, goes directly to police, fire, and Youth and Family Services. Youth and Family Services did not exist until we brought on the public safety parcel tax. It was specifically identified to be funded as part of that parcel tax. When that goes away, there is no other source of funding for Youth and Family Services. These monies will allow us, it will backfill that program specifically. But it will go towards any other gaps in funding, which would include, because we'll be losing 4.2 million out of the public safety parcel tax. Some of it goes to the fire contract, some of it goes to police support and Youth and Family Services. Those are the primary groups. But without that funding, we have to maintain public safety. And so we would need to look to other cuts that are just going to impact the entire city. And that's where Youth and Family Services is threatened, Community and Recreational Services is threatened, Public Works is threatened. It would hit all services across the city.
Thank you.
One more question.
Sure.
Yes, Member Shima.
Does the city contributes any monies to the Union City Family Center at this time?
We do. Actually, they are one of our grantees. I mentioned to you earlier, the city contributes $250,000 a year to social service nonprofits. Oftentimes that money is used to help organizations go out and get more money, right? It shows a partnership. They can go to the county, they can go to the state, they can demonstrate that they have a partnership within the community. We are a partner with Youth and Family Services. I think we provide $25,000 that they then leverage for other funds. And of course, we participate in their programming and their meetings actively.
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, Member Wong has his hand up.
Yeah, this is a question that just follow the Ms. Shima's questions. And as I understand, the school district also funding the portion of the family service. Is that right? And the superintendent, is that right? And how much? and the way funding for the family center? I know this is the city project.
Actually, the Union City, it's I know it gets a little confusing. The Union City Family Center is our program run through by the district. The city contributes 25,000. The director has raises money from a variety of other grants and funding sources. And we've contributed, the amounts vary a little bit, but we've contributed up to $500,000 a year before. It's done. Director George has whittled that amount down quite a bit. And we've taken some steps to consensus, but we're still, it is our program and we're still funding a good chunk of it.
Okay. And another question is, and for the project, the WW, measure WW, and how much will impact to the senior? And is the senior get waived or not?
Oh, the exemption?
Yes.
Yes. There's an exemption for low income, and there's also an exemption for seniors 70 and older, where they're essentially head of household, where they're living with, in their own household. So yes, there is a senior exemption for 70 and older.
So 70 and older, and also low income. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
So one more follow-up question.
Yes.
Is that exemption automatic or they have to apply for
Well,
this?
they would need to apply, to demonstrate that they meet the criteria. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
So I mean, this means, and okay, the householder or one person in the family is a seniorly qualified. How we distinguish that?
It's a household. It's where you are 70-year-old household. You are essentially the householder, and a partner, or a partner if your partner is 70 years old or older. One of the primary residents would have to be 70 years or older. Right?
Thank
Okay.
you.
All right. Any further questions from the board? All right. I've got a couple questions.
Sure.
How's the tax calculated? So, for example, how do I know how much it's going to cost on a cable bill or electricity bill or all the different bills? Like, how is that? Like, how is it? Is it a flat tax? Is it a use-based tax?
It would be 5% of the fee of your utility,
Okay.
whatever the cost is of your service.
So it'd be a 5% tax on basically whatever the amount is. Just add 5%.
President Nishihira, I believe that's correct. The nuance of the tax, I don't quite know, but I could get that information back to you.
Okay. And then one other question. You came to this board a few months ago, and you kind of outlined the strategic plan, and thank you for doing that. One of your strategic goals was around fiscal stability.
That's
now,
right.
The question that I have is, what is the plan? In talking with people in our community, one of the concerns that I hear all the time is around long-term stability for revenue generation at the top line. So economic development. Like, how do you make the pie bigger? I know that as a member of the Economic Development Advisory Team several years ago, this was at the forefront of our concern. So the question is, how have we done over the past, 10-ish years around growing economic development, and what is the plan to curtail our dependence on external taxes for the general operating of the city?
Right. Those are great questions. You have participated in EDAT, the Economic Development Advisory Team, so you have a window into how revenue is generated. The city gets most of its general fund revenue from property tax base or from sales tax. Those are two broad, I'm using those two broad categories. Property tax is increased when you have high value buildings. So Class A office, for example, and the city has zoned and programmed. Actually, we would take Class A office development anywhere in the city, but we're specifically targeted around the BART station. Of course, you get increased property taxes with new residential development, but with new residential development, you also get additional services. There's cost to schools, cost to parks, cost to police, cost to fire. So residential is a little bit more complicated because with new population and growing population, you get more service demands. The other way is by increasing your sales tax, and that comes through businesses that sell at retail. Zoetis is a great example in town. They not only sell at retail, but they manufacture. They're located over in the Crossroads Technology Park. Union Landing is one of our anchor retail sales tax generators. And we feel very fortunate that we've been able to land Ross and Burlington. Those are two good generators of sales tax. Unfortunately, we've been hit heavily because they're both operating very marginally right now with the impact of COVID, and they were closed for many, many weeks. So those are the frameworks in which economic development activity happens. We have we're working on a specific plan around BART, and that is going to bring in another 1,000 units. In the whole DIPSA area, we're expecting about another 1,800 units over the next 10 years. So that's going to be a significant amount of growth in that general area.
All right. Thanks very much.
Sure.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Go on.
Okay, and well, as a city manager, I was wondering, and if the proposition and 15 passed, how this can help the cities? And I understand that we have a big deficit there now, but if this time we pass the proposition 15, and there's about 60% extras were going to the local, which is the city. Am I right?
I am not familiar with Proposition 15. I can't speak to that.
Okay.
And
So
sorry.
one more,
Okay.
Yes.
Joan, it's a little bit tough question. I would like to ask you that Fong La, our county
Yes.
assessor, he has,
Yes.
since he got elected, he has mentioned in several forums that Union City is the poorest city. Union City is the least revenue generating city in Alameda
right.
County.
That's right.
So do you recall any that how long we have hold this title, so to speak?
Sure. Let me tell you, many cities around us have other sources of revenue. Sometimes there are things like Costco's. Costco's are big sales tax generators. Sometimes they have many more hotels than we do. Hotels are big sales tax generators. We just have Union Landing. So we have very limited commercial base. We just don't have a lot of areas for shopping centers. And as you know, the retail world is shifting, right? People are buying more things online, which is taking funds away from the local of how revenues were originally generated. The other piece is that other cities, such as Hayward, have something called a property transfer tax. And that is a tax that is assessed on the sale of property. I think it's about 9.6% per thousand, $9.60 per $1,000 in valuation. Many cities in Alameda County have a transfer tax. We do not. Many cities have utility user taxes. We do not. We do have a 1/2-cent sales tax, and other cities have those sources of revenues as well. Our share of property tax, I was actually just looking at this today. You can look at many cities such as Dublin, Pleasanton, Berkeley, Piedmont. Their portion of every dollar of property tax is over 20 up to 30%. Union Cities is 16 to 17%. And that has a very long history, and it's tied to Prop 13. And I could not give you the details of that, but we were actually having that conversation today. So there's many reasons why Union City has a limited property base. Some of it has to do with our base and the fact that we built out, much of our build out was in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. Properties were at a lower value, unlike Dublin, for example, which has built out really in the last 15 years. And so they have capitalized on a higher housing costs, where we've had, you know, if you've lived in Union City a long time, you're probably paying property tax on a $250,000 home or a $300,000 home. Whereas in other cities, they might be paying property tax on $1 million homes. We have some of those too. We do have $1 million homes in Union City, but there is a broad base of properties. They're just because they're older and they haven't turned over yet. And as they turn over, that property tax base will continue to increase. But there's a lot, it's a complicated puzzle. And it's not just that people aren't, you know, we don't have high rises. It's a complicated puzzle.
So further, because you have mentioned about the transfer tax. So
Yes.
I think a few years back, we were having some conversations or to bring it on the ballot. Did we bring it on the ballot? I'm just want to refresh my memory.
Yeah, sure. No, the great question. The city has looked at that as a possibility. The only charter cities, we are not a charter city, we're a general law city. So the first step would be to become a charter city. And only once you're a charter city can you even begin to think about that. And I got to tell you, you pretty much, I think a majority of cities in Alameda County, certainly the older cities, have transfer taxes. And many of the, you know, wealthier cities, Palo Alto has a transfer tax. So it's a two-step process. And I'm not sure the city is really looking at that as a revenue stream right now. I mean, it really isn't, it didn't
So
pass.
that was on the ballot in 2018, I believe.
That door is closed and we're not looking at that.
Yeah,
No.
okay. Just want to refresh my
Sure.
memory.
Sure.
Thank you.
Yes,
Okay. I could spend all day talking about this, but this is a
I
school.
could too.
So if there's nothing else, I wanted to thank you for your time. Looks like the board is very interested in this. There's a lot more to talk about, but we'll leave it at that. And best of luck on your
Thank you.
your
Thank you
ballot.
very much.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good
Thank you.
night.
Okay. Now we're going to be moving on to 7.1, which is public comment for topics not on the agenda. Are there any because of COVID-19 shelter in place, the district has provided the opportunity for community members to address the board via email at publiccomment@nhusc.k12.ca.us. The deadline to submit requests was today at 2 p.m. Prior to the deadline, there were no comments provided to the board. Are there any community members that would wish to raise, to address the board on topics that are not on the agenda? Please raise your hand using the Zoom functionality, or if you are dialed in, please press *9. Please keep your comments to 2 minutes. Speakers that go over 2 minutes will be muted. Okay, seeing no public comment, seeing no hands raised for topics not on the agenda, we will move on to item 8.1, which is for topics on the agenda. Are there community members that wish to address the board for topics that are on the agenda? Please raise your hand. If you are dialed in, please press *9. And we have President Joe Angeles. Let me see if that's only one. If you do want to speak, please, now is the time to raise your hand so I can figure out how much time we all get. All right, we've got Michael Gonzalez, that's number 2. So after President Angeles will be Michael Gonzalez. And so we will give you 3 minutes. Okay. hang on a second. Let me just get my, all right, President Angeles, go ahead and address the board. Thanks for coming.
Hey, good evening, President Nishihara, members of the board, Superintendent Thompson, district staff, and of course, community members in the gallery and at home. I did want to say a big thanks to the board for bringing up this topic to hopefully take a position of support for Proposition 15. As we know in your discussion regarding the city finances, we know Proposition 15, as known as Schools and Community First, will be of a great help to our situations, not only in the school finance throughout the state, but as well as public agencies like the city that can help kind of continue some of the services that Manager Malloy mentioned. So I'm looking forward to your approval of taking a position of support for Proposition 15 and working collaboratively on that whole initiative to get it supported by our community as well as neighboring communities. I know our idea of collaboration so far this year has been very successful in a lot of different conversations. So again, I want to thank the board for considering this, and I look forward to your position of support. Thank you.
Thank you, President Angeles. Okay. Next will be community member Michael Gonzalez. Okay, go ahead and unmute yourself and address the board.
Good evening, board members and Superintendent Thompson. I'm excited to see Proposition 15 on today's New Haven School Board agenda meeting as an information item. I urge you to take action tonight and endorse the Proposition 15. Today, August 18, 2020, I dropped off a petition with over 100 signatures of concerned citizens in the New Haven Area 3 precinct. This petition states, "We, the undersigned, are concerned citizens who urge our leaders to act now to endorse Proposition 15. For the past 40 years, corporations have taken advantage of the Proposition 13 property tax loophole that has drained millions of dollars from our schools and community services. Currently, New Haven Unified School District is in a budget crisis as a result. And there's no reason why the partial tax and proposition can't work together, and we can endorse and support both of those. Proposition 15 will restore $11.5 billion every year towards resources that truly educate our children and services that truly support our families. Proposition will not raise taxes on homeowners or renters while leveling the playing field for businesses. The signatures belong to many prominent community members of various associations in Union City. I am continuing to collect signatures in Union City and South Hayward, and will email you a copy shortly. For these reasons, I respectfully request that the New Haven School Board of Education take action tonight and endorse Proposition 15 promptly. Thank you for your consideration in this matter.
Thank you, community member Gonzalez. Okay. Okay. Okay, so seeing no further hands for requests to speak, we will then move on to item 9.1, which will be discussion regarding the California Proposition 15 tax on commercial and industrial properties for education and local funding initiative. The text has been attached for reference. There is no presentation here. This is just an opportunity for the board, for me to facilitate a discussion around this this ballot initiative. So with that, is there anybody who'd like to speak either for or against, or have questions regarding Prop 15? Okay.
Sorry, I was just going to go ahead and say something if that's okay.
Go for it. Yes.
Yeah. So I was gonna say, I'm glad we have this as our information item. I think it's timely considering we had gotten our, parcel tax survey results back, and we had discussion prior to the board meeting where we had to take action to either proceed, healthy discussions prior to that. So I think given that that wasn't successful, to me, I feel, this is something that will suffice. That additional revenue that is much needed by our districts. And so for me, I would ask that we would ask the staff to craft a resolution that would be on our next board meeting. And I think Mr. Wong asked a really good question of our manager, city manager Malloy. And it was unfortunate that she wasn't aware of how this tax or this Proposition 15 might play into their services, because this is a big chunk of revenue that could benefit both entities, the city side and our cross the street district. So just like with any campaign, I would urge the advocates and the supporters to really go out and support this if they feel strongly about this, because apparently some of our, not everyone's aware about it. So I think from the way I understood it, and I want to thank Ms. Heldman for providing us additional information on this. Much of our questions were addressed and we had a discussion on that. So I think the 40% of the revenues that are calculated as part of the Prop 15 are to be for K-14. And we also understand that number will vary each year. So I think that's something to look forward to, as we plan out our allocations and programs that will be supported by such extra fundings. But all in all, I think it's necessary revenues that we need to bring into our district. And now is a good time that we're having this discussion, considering that we've, finished off our discussion on the parcel tax. So I think for me, this is timely and I can stand behind the resolution.
Thank you, Member Kaur. Member Canlis.
Yes, first of all, I'd like to thank Ms. Heldman and Superintendent Thompson for the information regarding Prop 15. They've answered a lot of my questions, and I'm not going to repeat what Member Kaur shared already. I too are in favor of supporting a resolution to support Prop 15.
Great, thank you very much. What I will say about this is I am enthusiastically in support of Prop 15, and I fully plan on supporting giving a direction to staff to craft a resolution. There was during public comment, the community member asked for us to move on it tonight. We can't move on tonight because it's not agendized for action. The way that we have kind of crafted this process is we're going to use this information item to have the discussion with the intent of, assuming it's the pleasure of the board, directing staff to create a resolution in a future meeting for action. The next, the one thing that I will say is that while I do fully support anything that is going to improve and create at least more adequate funding, what I would say is, looking into the ballot initiative, it seems that the calculation is based on what I've been able to tell, is based off of something that is called a statute methodology. And what that means is while the legal structures are in place, the actual calculation of the money that is received is one that can be voted on by a simple majority of this California State Legislature. So what that means is the amount of money that the district gets at the top line. Right now, we're estimating anywhere between $5.5 million to 7.5 million, and at the top end, something like $12 million. That could not be that we can't count on that same amount as being any stable amount. So I just want to, I will fully support it, but I want it kind of written into the minutes and into the notes that this is something that we have to acknowledge as a board, that this is not a promised fixed set of money every year. And just like other LCFF top line revenue, it is also dependent on enrollment. So if we do continue to get our enrollments to decline, that takes away the impact of the additional base grant funding. So what I would say is I enthusiastically support it, but we should be very, very aware of the structures around how that budget item is calculated. Okay, and with that, I've got two hands. I got Member Canlis. Is your hand still up?
No, I'm down.
Okay, Member Wong then.
Okay, so I just wanted all the board members and concerned with this. And first of all, and I understand the financial situation for the district, and I am very agreed, and we need to have extra funding. But I was just want people understand this one, and when we do the study, how we do the verbally to do the resolution to support the proposition 15, because due to the COVID-19, and we stopped another campaign for the fair funding and for the school, because fair funding actually will be 4 or 5 times more and then proposition and the 15. So I'm concerned is if we put a too strong wording here, and actually could cost, and we leave the partial of the votes and we'll switch later. So shall we concerned? And we have lots of debate, and even the CSBS level, and for the state CSBA, they decided to stand aside and not take a position. And well, I'm not to say we should not take a position. I put this open for everybody concerned. And yeah, this is, shall we do this one and lots of big one, or shall we continue to support it? But we always need some monies, and no matter what, and to support the local. That's something I would suggest.
Okay, Member Canlis.
Member Wang mentioned the competition with full fair funding. CSBA is not moving forward with that this November, so it's not going to be competing with it. They're not going to move forward with that till 2022. So I don't think it would be a competition, and it will not be a problem.
Okay. Member Chima.
Yeah, going along the same line, like Member Canlis has mentioned, that this measure is already on the ballot. So there is no question. Yes, it is a amendment to the California Constitution, but it's needed. It was due for a long time, and the reform is coming right now. So I am fully in agreement to support this measure. So ask the staff that we should bring it as a resolution in the next meeting.
Okay. All right, Member Chima, thank you very much for that. Like I said, I do agree. I do agree 100% that this is something that we need to do. I don't think it's an either or with full and fair funding. I think it's probably both. We should do this, and we should do full and fair funding because it is that important. One of the things that we continue to struggle with at the local level is trying to find sustainable sources of revenue that are not, that are, parcel taxes. As much as we wanted to advocate for it 4 or 8 years, after that, then we have to figure out what else to do. So at least this is more sustainable. And so, for that, is there any further conversation on this particular topic? Okay, Superintendent Thompson.
So it sounds like we're at the stage where clearly we have board consensus for staff to draft a resolution in support of Prop 15, and we will do that and bring it to the September 1st board meeting.
Great. Yes, I heard no objections to that through the comments. All right. All right. Seeing no further comments on this item, we will move to 9.2, which will be items from the board and superintendent. If you have something that you'd like to say, please raise your hand. Okay, Member Core.
Not a lot. I'm gonna make it very quick. I just want to welcome all our students, our teachers, back to school. You know, certainly different this year around. And I was very happy to read Superintendent Thompson's board communication a few days back when he said when other districts are reaching out to us, asking how did we do it? You know, how are we so ahead of the curve? So thank you to all the staff members, all our teachers that were participating in the model drafts and getting us here. You know, there obviously with everything, there's few glitches that came up in the first one day or two, second day, but I think overall it was a very smooth start. So I'm very happy for that. And it seems like, you know, kids are just, they're just very adaptive, right? They know exactly what to do and where to go. So this year we have in our household a kindergarten, a second grader, an 8th grader, and an 11th grader. So talk about everyone sitting with their own Zoom on their own Chromebooks with Zoom and telling you to get out of my room because I have a class right now where I'm studying, right? So what are you doing? You're on a screen. So it's kind of fun to watch that. And I just, you know, I wish everyone a really a productive, you know, few months with virtual, however long it lasts, and hopefully very soon we'll be back in classroom. So I just wanted to wish everyone a productive year.
Thank you very much, Member Core. Okay, Member Canlis, you have your hand up.
Yes, I too would like to welcome everyone to a new, challenging, but interesting new year and reopening. And I'm also glad to hear that from the superintendent that we had very few glitches and pretty much, I think I would categorize it as a smooth opening. Other districts around us heard about our district and they are curious. In fact, they're asking, like Derek mentioned, they're asking for certain things and see how we're doing and what we did and so on. So at our August 13-14 meeting for CSBA and AXPA, there was a lot of concerns that were being shared from different districts and they really are looking at us and wondering what we're doing right. So they're asking and making phone calls regarding what we could, you know, questions that they want to be answered. So I think the staff, the entire district, this board needs a pat on the back because I think they've done a good job. So thank you everyone for your hard work and parents and students for your patience. And we hope that you will have a wonderful, glitch-free, productive, and even though it's different, an enjoyable year. And I hope you recorded your first day by taking a picture and putting your name tag on your desk, just like you would have in a regular school year. So thank you for that. I also would like to share a good news. AB 1460, the ethnic studies for college graduation has been approved by our governor 2 days ago, I think, or was it yesterday? But recently, and that's a huge milestone. So ethnic studies is now required in colleges. Now we're working for AB 331 for the high school. And I know Ms. Chima and I are attending meetings to push for that. Hopefully that will pass as well, which would require, if it passes, high school to take ethnic studies classes as well for graduation. So that's a bit of good news. And I wanted to clarify, CSBA has been put virtually, correct? For December, it's no longer live. I think that's the case. Okay, yeah. So none of us are going to a live meeting this year. I do miss the collaboration during the times when we're not sitting in a meeting during those times. Maybe we could have virtual meetings. It
is confirmed all virtual.
Yeah, yeah. And I will share the AXBA meetings at the other part of this meeting. Thank you
Okay.
so much.
Great. Member Wong.
You have to unmute yourself,
I
Mr.
think
Wang.
you need to unmute.
I'm so sorry. Yeah. Okay. First of all, and welcome everybody back in the school, and yeah, and we started school earlier very smoothly. That's great, and I already see the update by the superintendent and the last Friday. Great. Okay, and during the COVID-19, and we do the distance learning, and I understand, and for the community, especially for disadvantaged economic groups, and there are lots and a lot for the learning. So, and I just want to announce it. And okay, I have a one and organization, the teams and volunteers, and the Asian volunteers, mostly is Chinese, Indians, and Vietnamese. We are going to work with family centers and provide and free homework assistant and tutoring and for the Latino community. Of course, we welcome to everybody's, and we particularly help the Latino communities, and they really need help. So, and we are currently, we're working very well, and I get lots of volunteers. I have a very solid commitment volunteers, over 20, and the high school students and other students. And we plan to launch and after Labor Day, and maybe the September 8th and the date. And anybody want to help, great, let me know. And well, any suggestion, welcome to give to us. And yeah. And also thanks and the superintendent that put me together with the family center. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Then I seeing no further hands. I will actually Member Chima, there's a functionality. If you click raise your hand on Zoom, that makes it so I can see it.
Okay.
That's fine now. That's fine. Go ahead.
So similar along the same lines, like previous board members have mentioned, that please pass on our greetings to our staff and to our students from the board. I was kind of very nervous on the first day that how I will get some emails or phone calls from the parents that this is not working, this is not working. That was only like a couple of phone calls. So I was glad that things are working properly. Thank you for your hard work to make the transition smooth for our families. This is the new world we are learning to live in virtually and doing all the stuff. So appreciate the patience and the hard work from our staff and from our families. Because this is the item is from the staff from the board. So I would like to share that I was able to deliver my testimony for the inclusion of the ethnic studies program in the curriculum to the State Board of Education. And also I would like to congratulate to all the current board members who are running for their re-election, and also the new candidates who are competing in this election. And also you might know it already, but I would like to share it officially here that I did qualify to be on the ballot for the mayor's seat. I'm excited about that. So other things I will share in the next time when we have the subcommittees. Thank you so much. This is for me.
Okay, great. Thank you very much, Member Chima. What I will say is a couple things about the first day of school. I'll try not to repeat a lot of things that you guys said, but I will say that the reason why I think, I mean, it hasn't been completely bump free. There are some things that we all kind of anticipated. The reason why it went as well as it did is because of the collaboration and dedication between every member of staff, every teacher that was a part of the design team, every member of the negotiation teams that was able to allow us to hammer out the MOU. We have become quite a model for other districts to follow. So we are trailblazers, and a lot of that has to do with the dedication of and the team and partnership of everybody included here. So I wanted to give a heartfelt thank you to everybody involved. Secondly, and on a more sad, on a very sad note, I would like to recognize a James Logan teacher who just passed away, Craig Harper. I was heartbroken to find out. He had a very profound effect on many people. I know that a very close member of my family had him at a particularly troubling time of her life. And he was not only just a chemistry teacher, he was also somebody who my family member could go to talk to. And so he was much more than a teacher. He was much more than a coach. He was somebody very reliable, very compassionate, and Craig is going to be missed by not just the staff, but the entire community. So I just did want to extend my condolences to Raylyn and the boys and anybody else who may be grieving. So with that, I would love to be able to have a very short moment of silence for Craig Harper. Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. That was everything that I had. And I believe that's oh, Dr. Thompson, I always forget you, Dr. Thompson. Sorry about that. Please go ahead.
Yeah, so thank you. Thanks for recognizing the hard work that went into getting the school year started. Certainly the board supported that all the way along. And Trustee Nishihara, or President Nishihara is correct. You know, I don't want to sugarcoat it. There were little bumps all along the way, drop Zoom connections, you know, Chromebooks that weren't working, all of those types of things. And staff has been working really hard, the behind the scenes staff, principals and classified staff to support teachers. The burden really shifted. All that work we did during the summer, all that collaboration with NHTA and CSA was great, but the burden really shifted to the teachers in the classroom and to our students and parents when we started school. So what we're really doing now is trying to be proactive and reactive at the same time with support and flexibility, and just we meet at least once a day to we call it, it's kind of like a stand-up. I don't know, you could call it a stand-up faculty meeting, and with Zoom there's no real standing, but you know, we just to go over hot topics, what's coming up, what are the trends that we're seeing with all of the people that are involved. There's never been an integration of technology and curriculum and instruction like this. And even though we were preparing for it, when it actually hits you, it is just talk to any teacher out there and they'll tell you what they are working. The fact that we're here on day 5 and things are as smooth as they can be is really a testament to our teachers really working hard with the resources that they have. And I also want to thank our parents and our students too for being so patient and resilient, flexible. It's all of us together that really got us to where we're at. And you're correct, Trustee Conless. We are, and others who mentioned it. This work has not gone unnoticed. And being in the superintendent meetings I'm in at the county level, I can assure you we are way better off than most of the districts around us. They are dealing with the types of issues that, oh my gosh, it makes me want to lose sleep over just thinking about what they have to deal with. Schools that have had to push back openings, that have had to restart. You know, it just, oh, wow. Anyway, thank you everybody for that. Now it's not over. We are just beginning. Our teachers are struggling to implement our new learning platforms, Canvas and Seesaw, and we know that was a big lift. And the training piece is going to be important. And parents learning it and students, but boy, we really appreciate everyone. It's going to be better for everybody once those programs are fully implemented. And I appreciate all of that work. So we'll keep rolling. quick update on enrollment. I think we're in a pretty good place right now. The bad news is we're slightly down from last year in terms of declining enrollment. So but the good news is that we anticipated that decline, and we're slightly ahead of what we anticipated. So our projections were ahead of where we were in our projections in the budget. And if this were a normal year, I'd say we're in pretty good shape, because we know we're going to continue to get people enrolling. And if you talk to Mr. Lamb over in Student Services, he'll tell you that people are coming in. His comment to me was, I think people forgot school started because so many people are coming in. That said, attendance and figuring out who's actually with us and who's dropped is more complicated this year. So that number that we have is we anticipate is going to grow, but I also anticipate that there are probably a number of people that normally might be out of the student information system by this point that aren't yet, because of the complexity around enrollment and attendance. So, but the short of it is, right now, I think I'm cautiously optimistic that we're going to be okay from an enrollment perspective. Let's see. So I think that's it. Last thing, again, I didn't know Mr. Harper. From all I've heard, he sure sounds like the person that I would have really enjoyed getting to know, and the kind of educator that was a model for all of us. So my condolences to the family and the board. You could consider closing the board meeting in his honor as well. And that's something that's not an official action, of course, but that seems appropriate in this case. So again, that's it for me.
Okay. I did want to add one level of kind of nuance to what you'd said. There is, with regard to the parents, it wasn't just parents being patient, right? That's one thing. It's parents actually helping other parents.
Yeah.
And I think there's a little bit of a nuance there that the parents need to be congratulated for not only being patient, but also to roll up their sleeves and also help other parents. I don't think that's a dynamic we talk about quite enough. And then there was one more thing that you talked about that I did want to make the board aware of, that we should have conversations around, is our student information service, Equitas, is something that during this time we have found that it required, because it's somewhat of, it's not as modern of a system of, say, something like not Equitas, what's the other one?
Or there's Power School, there's Aries, there's a couple of
Power School or Aries, which are kind of some of the 800-pound gorillas, the ones that are really, really well supported without a lot of integration work that needs to be done. The bottom line is, I'd like to just tee up the conversation. At some point in upcoming meetings, we should start talking about either having a technology subcommittee and or a work stream that looks at and sizes the opportunity for improving our school information system, and to bring it up to date, so that when we do integrations like with Schoolmint and with Seesaw or Canvas, that it's a much more modern stack that is easier to implement. So it's going to be a lift, but it's going to be something that we're going to have to talk about at the board level, and we'll have to devote time and capital resources to being able to do that. So just wanted to kind of bring that up as something that we'll likely need to talk about soon.
Yeah, Mr. Nishihara, I actually started that conversation with my questions to John regarding IT. That's going to be an ongoing conversation, because IT is more needed now than ever. So the infrastructure, personnel even, are going to be something that we need to be talking about, because we don't know how much that department's services has increased and will continue to increase the next few months, if not ongoing.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I definitely agree with you. Mr. Superintendent John Thompson has received a lot of questions from me last Friday, and that's definitely one of them regarding IT.
Yeah, it certainly is. It certainly will be an expense, but I'd like to look at it as an investment for being able to make these integrations a lot more streamlined.
Yeah, from an operational perspective, that's something that a lot of the gaps that if you look for the root cause, it's rooted in our student information system. So we're working on a plan for that. And then at the board level, having a facilities and technology group that meets, as a board committee, that's something I think the board could and probably should consider. It's another committee, but you know, it's Trustee Conless is correct. It is.
All right.
Tight with communication.
That's not a bad idea, actually. Okay, so all right then. Moving on, we have moving on to 10.1. We have the report out from the Budget and Finance Committee.
We have not met, so there is no new information, but Ms. Heldman has kept us updated regarding what is going on statewide that continue to impact us.
Okay.
But no new meetings, so we have nothing to report this time. Ms. Chima?
Yes, I was so surprised when Ms. Heldman, she provided us the numbers with already with all the calculations for the Prop 15. Although those numbers, they are placeholders at this time, we are not sure about that, but still it was, I think, good work. I would like to appreciate her that she was able to provide us some sense of that, how it will impact to our district. Prop 15 it gets passed. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. All right. While we're still on this agenda topic, one of the things that I would like to just kind of plant a seed in your head, both of the committee members, is I would like us to start thinking about some type of ballot initiative for 2022. And you know, we kind of found ourselves kind of behind the 8 ball this time because the timing was so compressed. But what I would like to do is kind of think about a plan, right? We should probably have the Budget and Finance Committee kind of start to explore what a partial tax looks like, what a bond potentially looks like, what we could spend the money on. Because one of the things that I found that we were a little behind on this time around was like, okay, if we decided that we wanted to do a bond, what would we spend that money on, right? And then what, you know, if we were going to get a partial tax, what are the details around how, you know, what we would, how would we raise it, how we would use it, and those types of things. So now that we have a little bit more than 2 years before the next ballot cycle, we should probably think about proactively what we would want to get out of that. So that's just that. Maybe that's a discussion point for the subcommittee to maybe take a little bit more fully. But I'd like to just kind of throw it out there so that we have a little bit longer term. Yes, member Chima.
I welcome that conversation. I'm so glad that you have brought that up. It will be my pleasure to work on that plan after November 3rd. So then we will have more clear picture, because with the Prop 15, that how it will impact us. So we definitely, I believe in the local solutions. So I think I appreciate that.
Okay, we have actually our CBO has her hand up. Annette, would you like to say something?
Just to dovetail to what you were saying, good evening, everyone. President Nishihara, we've started our process of our master planning. So all of this would actually work out perfectly, because the revised master plan will guide our work in terms of our future learning environments. So all of that hopefully would all be pieced together, just timing would be perfect.
Perfect.
Also, we will have a better understanding of how the COVID-19 is impacting our communities. So, yeah, thank you.
Okay. Any further comments on the Budget and Finance Committee?
That's it.
Okay. All right, moving on to 10.2, which is the report from the Communication and Advocacy Committee. I don't have anything to add. We haven't had a meeting since the last time we reported out. We have a meeting this Thursday, but Member Core, is there anything that you'd like to report out? That
No, there's nothing. I think we have done that. We've done the reporting during our last board meeting.
Okay, great. All right, then we'll move on to 10.3, which is other boards, from other boards and committees. All right, Member Canlis.
Yeah, I would like to report on Expo activity. Again, I'd like to repeat that because of the collaboration between Contra Costa County School Board Association, the Alameda County School Board Association, CSBA, and Region 7 leadership, we're able to hear what is going on in all the districts, in not only in Alameda, but also in Contra Costa. And that's how I found out where everybody, well, most of the people who attended were as far as school reopening. So I would like to invite my colleague here, school board, to attend future meetings. The last one we had was on August 13 and 14. The next one is on August 27 and 28. You could attend one or the other. And this one is a breakout session and networking to see how people, what happened after they reopened school, what are their challenges, what are their successes in the districts. And it's really good to hear that, because then we know where we are compared to other school districts. And again, it's a bigger collaboration now. We also hear from Contra Costa and CSBA leadership. We have the calendar for the rest of the year. I emailed that to, or Penny from San Lorenzo emailed that to everyone. So you should have that in your email. Please come and attend. It's all via Zoom. So you don't need to drive and miss your dinner at home. And again, you get to hear what's going on, not only in Alameda County, but also in Contra Costa. Thank you.
Okay, member Core.
Yeah, I wanted to report out New Haven Schools Foundation upcoming event, which is going to be a drive-in movie. I mean, you know, for those who've lived in Union City forever know we had a drive-in movie theater right here where it's the Union Landing now. So if you want that experience again, October 3rd is your day to come out and support and raise funds in lieu of the mutt strut that we typically do, right? So you can bring your, yeah, so it'll be fun. It'll be a doggy movie. We haven't picked a movie yet. We're thinking as to how we're gonna either choose the movie or ask people who have registered to suggest, right? But it should be a fun event, you know, going retro. Maybe you can even wear your bell bottoms. We have, but it'll be fun. So October 3rd, save the date on that. Is as I have more information, I will share, but you can also follow their Facebook page and get all the details from there.
Hot dogs will be served.
Yes.
All right, member Chima, you have your hand up.
Yes. Let me lower my hand first. So, thank you, Member Canlis, again for sharing the EXBA update us with the EXBA activities. I'm glad that you guys have thought of not charging the districts with the membership money. So
right, $500 is $500.
Yeah. Right, every penny is worth saving. So I was very glad when I read that. In the last board meet, I mean the last EXBA meeting, I was stuck with the California State Board for almost a whole day to have my space. So I was like, right now I experience how the community members, if they want to speak, how they have to participate in the board meeting. So I was on the other side, and it took me a long time to get to my turn because there were hundreds of people who were speakers. So I could not participate in the EXBA meeting. But I would also like to report that we have this Mission Valley Regional Occupational Program, MVROP's meeting coming on this Thursday. And we had more than usual meetings in the past few months, even though they were the virtual meetings because of what we were experiencing. And then all those, our students' participation in the instruction did impact our MVROP's operation. So hopefully this this new year for MVROP will be smooth. That's what we're hoping for. And at one point, MVROP was thinking to have a parcel tax as well. That was because they also are worried about their funding, which depends upon the district's fundings. So if we are impacted as districts, when I remember the earlier budget numbers came, so then they were very worried about their operation as well. But thank God that it's not happening right now because, of course, there was a revised budget and also it was not the right environment. So thank you so much. That's all I have to say in my committee report.
Okay. What I would like to say, I'd like to add on to Sharon's comments on the foundation. What I wanted to do is really nothing to report out, but I did want to extend, our best wishes to our executive director over at the foundation, Helen Kennedy. She works extremely hard. She's wonderful. She just underwent surgery, and she's doing much better. But I did want to just extend, our regards on behalf of the hard work that she does, and glad that she's on the road to recovery. All right. If there's nothing further on 10.3, we'll move on to 11.1, which is our first action item. May I have a motion and a second to approve resolution number 004-2021, reduction of classified staff.
So moved.
Second.
Member Canlis and then Member Core. Discussion? Roll call, please.
Core,
Aye.
Canlis,
Aye.
Chima,
Aye.
Wong,
Aye.
Nishihira.
Aye. Moving on to 11.2. May I have a motion and a second to approve the contract with Literably for district reading benchmark assessments for 2020-2021 school year?
So
I
moved.
move. Second.
Okay, Member Canlis and then Member Wong. Discussion?
I have a question.
Yes.
I'm familiar with Fontes Pinnell, but I'm not quite familiar with Literably. How do they actually do the assessment online? Can you tell us a little bit more about it?
I can, Member Canlis. Literably is an assessment alternative to provide for our students in our elementary schools that works in a secure environment, because Fontes and Pinnell, as we have assessed in the past, in the COVID environment is almost impossible to be able to do for obvious reasons. So this allows us to be able to provide an online reading assessment targeted to our elementary age students, which provides a reading range so that teachers have an idea about how to be able to personalize instruction for students. In our vetting process, it was the product which was mostly supported by those who were involved in the selection of this as an alternative. And so it's our recommendation for the 2020-21 school year that we provide an alternative for teachers where students are able to be assessed virtually, where the teachers would receive information that will assist in personalizing learning for students.
So do the students, okay, so when they assess them originally from Fontes Pinnell, they have an idea where they are. So do the teachers assign them a correlated level with this online one and then go from there? Is that how it works?
The outcome of the assessment will provide a reading range for students that is correlated to the Lexile reading levels, so that teachers will be able to be informed in terms of what resources and are available to target specific student need.
So when the students take the test, the results will automatically go to the teachers electronically.
That's correct.
It looks like
Okay, are there any other questions on this topic? Member 4.
I think John Mattis had something to add.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I think Scott just nailed it, but I just wanted to add a couple of things. So
what teachers can do is when in the interface with literally for each of their students, they could enter a starting point for where they were last year in terms of like with their FMP, and then that'll be where Literally will start. If there isn't, if it's a brand new student, then they'll start at just the beginning, at the beginning grade level for that student. They'll just start there and keep going. And it's pretty incredible. They take the test, they read it. There is some multiple choice questions for comprehension. And then what happens is over the course of the next 24 hours, they have trained readers and and graders who listen to all the assessments and mark any errors and everything, and generate a report that's available the next day for teachers, the whole class. If a teacher has a question, they can click a button and hear what the student read. It's really remarkable considering how much time FMP typically takes and how we'll be able to get, I mean, if this were in a real classroom, it would take 20 minutes to do the whole class.
That sounds
it's
exciting.
Really incredible.
I know, that sounds
exciting.
exciting. Thank you for sharing that, because I know I've done Fontes Finale and it takes so long to do the entire class. So since like something we might even want to do after we get out of COVID, because it really is so time saver and efficient. Thank you.
Okay, Member Chima.
I was just wondering if you can, if Superintendent can elaborate on the learning loss mitigation funding.
Yeah, I don't know if I can talk about that right now. This is we have an agenda in a second, and so that's a whole different topic. Sorry.
I mean, there is because the budget source is the learning loss mitigation funding for this item.
Okay.
Yeah, I was wondering if you know anything about that, just to educate us, update us on how it is different than the general fund or where this part of money comes from. So something.
I think I'll turn that over to Ms. Heldman and have her, Annette, if you're out there, to talk about the nuance there.
Yes, so the question is regarding the learning loss mitigation. So at the 45-day budget revision, if you recall, I talked about some one-time federal dollars that New Haven amounts to approximately 6.8. That actually is from the Budget Act, which is the learning loss mitigation dollars. Now, it is under the general fund. As far as the state is concerned, it is not a separate fund. We track it under general fund. It just happens to be a different funding source from the state level.
I see. Thank you for explaining. I forgot. I read it at the time when Feds they announced it, but then I forgot about it. Thank you.
Sure.
Okay, Member Core.
Yeah, so I think John Meadows and also Member Canlis kind of touched on this. It sounds like this one and then the next program, which is the music program, Quiver music license. My general question on these are really, once we have these programs in place, obviously they're vetted, and they're tested and piloted by maybe other sources, but vetted before we bring them on board. What process or at what point do we do a check-in to see, let's reevaluate or let's assess our district to see if that program or programs are being used to its full functionality? Are they worth extending our licenses if there is an extension? Are they worth the money? Does that process take place in our district, either at a certain timeline, or do we just, because everyone's on a move, and obviously with this COVID situation, it's a go, right? Trying to keep everyone afloat. I love that we're investing in these programs for our students, given our situation, but I would also like to ask how these are evaluated, either down the line, or what's the standard in our district?
And the answer, I can address that. The answer really varies on the program. For example, programs like Canvas and Seesaw, there was quite a process that went into just getting them to the board for approval. And then, we will monitor implementation, we'll monitor how it's functioning. and because they're major systems. For our smaller programs, well, and I would say that Literally is not a small program for us. It's something that was vetted, and with this program here, as well as some of the other ones, we're really trying to look at all of these decisions with a lens that we're not, even though we need some upgrades right now due to the COVID environment and distance learning, we're trying to make decisions that are going to be better for the long term. And you heard Mr. Matos describe how this program is actually going to probably be ongoing benefits on an ongoing level. Now, to that end, how do we know if it doesn't work? How are we evaluating these programs? Again, it really varies depending on the program. Sometimes with programs that affect teachers district-wide, we'll have either subgroups meet, we'll have surveys done, we'll do things that way. In this case, with a program like Literally, we'll know right away how well it's working, and we will know right away from our teachers, believe me, how well it's being implemented in the classroom. So it really, the answer to your question isn't a one-size-fits-all answer. It really depends on the program and the situation. For example, our student information system, we were cruising along with it, but the gaps that were exposed now, that everything is coming into a distance learning online mode, are really apparent, and they weren't before. So we didn't have a formal evaluation process to get there. We as we were implementing different things, gaps emerged, and now we're going to really evaluate that along with other programs to see what meets our needs. So it's really not a one-size-fits-all answer. It really depends.
Okay. Member Chima, do you still have your hand up, or did you not put it back
Yes,
down?
I do. Yes, I do.
Go ahead, Member Chima.
And thank you, Member Kaur, for initiating this conversation. So my question is along the same lines, that I think maybe in the future, we need to have the information available in the board agenda that if we are having a new program implementation of the new program, then what other program we are deleting from our systems. That will give us a clear picture, because every board meeting we have some things to approve, and we trust your judgment. We need those. And in the past, long time back, teachers, they also have mentioned that it's like overload for them to keep learning and keep changing. So how do we address that? So, I mean, I'm not asking you this question right now to answer off of your top of your head. Maybe in the future, have a plan that a consolidated plan that how many softwares we are asking our staff to learn. And if we are replacing those softwares with other software, then which one is going out? So that we have a sense of true cost for our programs. That's just a comment. So.
Okay, Member Campbell.
Yeah, I just want to respond to Mrs. Chima's comment. For this specific one, they are replacing Fontes Final because of the situation we're in, COVID. As you know, Fontes Final is done one-on-one, and you have to be in person. So therefore, it cannot be implemented because they're not in school. They're not bodily, physically present. And they're replacing it with this one, which is an online way of getting assessment from the students. And I think this is a good move to make sure we continue to assess our students and know where they are and address their instruction to their needs. And you're right, you want to know about changes and things before they come along. But I think this one they have a valid, really valid reason why they moved from Fontes Final to this one, because it's just not possible to give the test on a one-on-one in-person basis.
Okay, Member Chima.
So yeah, I do understand for this program. I don't have any questions regarding the effectiveness of this program. So only thing I'm asking, like you have said, so there was a program before, but I think they have not mentioned. They did mention that one-on-one evaluation was hard, time-consuming, and all that summary in it. but I think they have not mentioned the name of that program before, that we are replacing this with this program with this program. So I think it's more clarification in this case for this, but in the future, if we can have that information available, that'd be good.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
So as a reminder, we have a motion and a second on the table. We've just discussed it, and now I believe it's time for a roll call.
Core,
Aye.
Canlis,
Aye.
Chima,
Aye.
Wong. Nishihira,
Is Member Wong still here?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Member Wong said aye. Member Nishihira, aye. Okay, motion carries. Moving on to 11.3. May I have a motion and a second to approve the Quaver music licenses for music specialists at the elementary school level?
So
I
moved.
move. Second.
That was Member
I'm second.
Member Canlis and then Member Wong. Discussion? Member Canlis?
I just have a question. Again, I'm having a hard time picturing how that's gonna look like. Can you give us a quick 1-2 sentence on how might this look like?
Yeah, this is one of many changes that we're going to have to make in the digital world. I'll turn it over to Mr. Pisani to give you the overview.
Sure. The Quaver music license was a result of the recommendation from our elementary specialists that will assist students with music at the K-5 level with a virtual delivery model of music instruction. And so again, we are contemplating and vetting and taking recommendations from staff in order to support virtual learning for our students. This license, again, focuses for our K-5 students.
Yeah, but how does that look like? I mean, how are they teaching music using this?
So I see that Jennifer Rivera is here and has her hands up in our meeting, and she was instrumental in making the recommendation. I'm wondering if we can get additional information from her as well.
Okay, I've just promoted her to a panelist. Go ahead, Jennifer.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. My name is Jennifer Rivera. I am the music specialist at Kiniyama Elementary. This summer, I was looking at different ways for elementary specialists to present our information because we are being asked to be giving synchronous instruction 40 minutes at a time to our students. And last year, when we went into virtual instruction for 40 minutes, we were asked to give asynchronous. And I really wanted to have something that would be exciting for students and interesting and really keep them engaged. And I found this program called Quaver Music. It teaches all of the elements of music that is within the TK through 5 curriculum, but it teaches it in a way that there's interactive videos, there are online quizzes, assessments, they're going to learn how to be musically literate, teaching songs, there's virtual instruments for them to play, the whole gamut. And the kids are able to video themselves, audio record themselves, and it gets sent directly to the teacher. What's nice about it, using our Clever, whatever you call it, we use Clever. Once we get everything bought and purchased, the kids can access their Quaver account straight through Clever. So we already have amazingly, we have the technology in place to make this a seamless transition for kids to log on. It will help us take attendance because we can take attendance whenever they log on. We know they've been in class and we can assess them. We have a live PD, the 6 of us music teachers with the person tomorrow. If any of you board members would like to attend, it's at 9 a.m. I'd be happy to send the Zoom link to you if you want to really know more information about it. I was able to get a really good deal on it for 1/7 of the price that they usually charge. I can't imagine we would get this next year because I don't know how we would afford it. I would never have asked it at that price, but there was a miscommunication in their original quote, and I was able to use my teacher voice and talk them down. So that's kind of how this came about.
I will also share that based upon Ms. Rivera's initial recommendation for consideration, we did vet the product with the other music specialists, and it was the consensus for this license to go forward in order
Yeah,
to support.
we're all in agreement and we're excited to use it. Are there any
Thank
other
you.
questions that I can help you with?
Thank you so much. That answered my question.
No problem.
Thank you, Ms. Rabaro.
No problem.
Okay, let's see here. All right, so as a reminder, we have a motion and a second on the table. Is there further discussion on this item?
I raised my hand.
Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry, Member Shima.
Yeah. So first of all, thank you so much, Mr. Rivera, being present in this meeting and just explaining it to us on the spot. I was just wondering if there was any other program available, like the previous one I was asking before this program, and I'm glad that from the dollar amount I saw it, I was thinking to myself, oh really? This is it? So thank you so much for the good bargain you have done for our students. So was there any other program before this? I know because of the virtual environment we are in, I thought maybe you have just subscribed this now, or there was any other program before this program.
So the recommendation for this program was based upon supporting synchronous and asynchronous instruction because of COVID. Otherwise, we would normally have had our teachers in our classroom being able to deliver instruction.
Okay. So last thing is, Ms. Rivera, can you please send me the link tomorrow? I would love to participate one time at least. Thank you.
Okay, all right then. Then may I have a roll call for this motion?
Or
Aye.
Canlis,
Aye.
Chima,
Aye.
Wong,
Aye.
Nishihira.
Aye. Okay. Moving on to 11.4. May I have a motion and a second to approve Amendment 2 to Employment Agreement between NHUSD and Chief Business Officer Annette Heldman?
So moved.
I'm second.
Second.
Okay, so Member Canlis and then Member Wong. Discussion, please. Member Chima, you have your hand up.
Yes. I don't have any question. My questions, they were answered in the previous conversations. In the general sense, I just want to say that not only this one, the next one, as I know from the operational standpoint, our superintendent, Dr. Johnson, this is his intention to bring them all together and in line, but at the same time, I have shared my thinking before that if all of your contracts, all four of you, the cabinet, they expire at the same time, what if all of you guys leave together? So what will we do? So for that purpose, I was thinking to keep them in a staggered years, but it's all right with me.
We just
That
won't
was
let
my
them go.
Yeah.
Okay, any other discussion or questions on the motion?
No.
Okay, roll call, please.
Core,
Aye.
Canlis,
Aye.
Chima,
Aye.
Wong,
Aye.
Nishihira.
Aye. Moving on to 11.5, may I have a motion and a second to approve Amendment 2 to the employment agreement between NHUSD and Chief Personnel Officer Derek McNamara.
So moved.
Second.
Member Canlis and Member Chima, discussion, please.
None.
Okay, roll call, please.
Core,
Aye.
Canlis.
Let me think about, no, just
I
kidding.
knew it.
Aye.
Chima,
Aye.
Wong,
Aye.
Nishihira.
Aye. Moving on to 11.6, may I have a motion and a second to approve Amendment 2 to the employment agreement between the New Haven Unified School District and Chief Academic Officer Scott Pisani.
So moved.
Second.
Member Canlis and then Member Chima, discussion, please.
Discussion.
Okay, roll call, please.
Oh, no, I have
Oh.
discussion.
Oh, you have discussion. Go ahead, Member Chima, I'm sorry.
Yeah, sorry, I think I lost my thought. So thank you, Scott, for being on the forefront for the instruction part. I know all of our staff, they have worked hard, but you being the face of the instruction, thank you for your hard work. And I'm also glad that community at large, they have they are approving, nobody is making big fuss out of this. So this is just normal procedure, so to speak, in the operations part, but I'm glad that this, all those contracts, they are being approved now.
Okay.
Thank you, thank you.
All right. I see no further hands up for discussion. Roll call, please.
Core,
Aye.
Canlis,
Aye.
Chima,
Aye.
Wong,
Aye.
Nishihira.
Aye. Okay, moving on to consent agenda. Are there any items that members from the board would like to pull for separate vote?
No.
Member Canlis, it looks like you have your actual hand up.
Not separate vote, but just comments or questions. Do you want me to wait till we get to discussion?
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay.
If it's not for a separate vote.
All right.
Okay, then may I have a motion and a second to approve consent agenda items 12.1 to 12.19?
So moved.
Okay,
Second.
Member Canlis and Member Wong. Okay, now Member Canlis, your discussion.
Yeah, for 12.13, the assignment for John Marabella, that's a ukulele class. It's literally a class.
Yes.
So you have a lot of students attending ukulele class?
Yes, on different years, it can be quite high actually.
Wow. And what is that high? What's the number for that? That a classroom
I'd
fee?
have to check with I'd have to check with Heather Thorner, but the rosters and the signups are actually quite high for it because it's a good alternative that no one else offers. And so this teacher has that expertise in that area, and so it's kind of a neat thing. It used to be kind of a lunchtime thing, and now it's become an actual class on the elective wheel.
Yeah, I attended the lunchtime thing before. So now that we're going virtually, the teacher teaches ukulele virtually then, just like YouTube.
That's right.
But with 30 kids or so in a classroom. That's exciting. I can't wait to go see that in real life someday.
Yep, get some lessons yourself.
Yeah. They're probably doing much better than I could do ukulele now. Thank you for clarifying that.
Okay, further discussion on consent.
Yeah, 12:15.
Okay.
12:15, it's the Edgenuity at Delaneyson and Pioneer. I'm curious why only those two schools? Are they paying for that using their own site money, or is that a district funded something for just those two schools, and why?
So for item 12.15, the renewal for Edgenuity, the sites for this online program is utilized at Cesar Chavez, James Logan, Connolly, and Dakota School for Independent Study.
Right.
It is the program that provides students for credit recovery at our high schools that we've used in combination with the Acellus in previous years. So the sites that we have had Edgenuity, this is year 4 of this contract to continue to provide this opportunity for our students in terms of credit recovery.
Right, but they're also using at Delane and Pioneer in the elementary?
I don't believe that that's correct.
It does not stay here.
Oh, okay, so I thought I read it someplace that, okay, could be my mistake. I thought I read that.
It does say,
No,
but I
it
think
does
it
say
says
that
that it's
under
through
the-
a program called Pathblazer. But it does,
Pathways is a program that is site funded, and the two sites are Easton and Pioneer, who have been organizing around using site funds to provide that part of that program.
My
through
mistake. Okay. So but you did answer the site funded part. That
Right.
that explains why it was just the two of them. Okay, thank you so much.
You're
So,
welcome.
question.
Yes, Member Chima.
So since you have mentioned that only 2 school sites they are funding it, I was just wondering if you have on top of your head, if you know the numbers, how much is the cost so that other elementary schools they can participate, or so make this available to them as well if there is some benefit. So how much is the cost for from the site?
I would have to research that and get back to you. Again, the cost for this
Sure.
contract is for the credit recovery for our secondary students, and the
Yeah.
costs are delineated in the contract attached for your reference.
Yeah.
No. Okay, thank you.
Member Chima, please remember that when we get to the consensus agenda items. Okay. Any further comments on consent?
No.
All right, roll call, please.
Or
Aye.
Canlis,
Aye.
Chima,
Aye.
Wong,
Aye.
Nishihira.
Aye. Moving on to skipping 13, moving on to 14, governance review. Is there anything that anybody would like to discuss regarding governance of this particular? Okay. Seeing none, we'll then move over to the board consensus items. Do any board members have any items that they would like to ask staff to begin work on?
I don't have the request for the staff to have a work, but I do want to make 1 or 2 comments, if you can allow me.
Okay.
So one thing is we did vote on the approval of the layoff the classified employees. So I just want to share with the public that that employee is not actually laid off. So they were reassigned to the new duties. So public should not have that kind of in his mind that we have laid off an employee. So
Member
that
Chima?
is one thing.
Member Chima, the proper time to actually address that discussion point was when we had the motion for discussion for that item. Right now, this item here, item 15, is around board consensus. That means if there's some tasks that you would like the board to take part in, that is this is where we get board consensus to direct staff. Not for
That's why I asked you that that I have other 2 comments to make. I asked for the permission from you early on, but it's up to you still. And one thing before I forget is I need to ask Jeff Wang. He mentioned that they are providing some kind of tutoring. If he can let us know, I would like to participate. These are the only 2 things I want to say.
Okay. Thank you. Member Canlis, do you have an item you'd like to bring to staff direction?
Yeah, we've talked about this. So if it's the will of this board that we create a resolution for Prop 15.
Yep, that was the outcome of the information item, but thank you for bringing that up. Very good direction. All right, anybody else?
We also requested to provide us the information, how much is the cost per site if other elementary school, they want to participate in the Edgenuity.
Edgenuity. Okay, so Dr. Thompson, Scott, Dr. Thompson, Mr. Scott, do you guys have any questions or clarifications on the direction?
I do. I do have the costs for path lasers if you would like for me to share it now.
Okay.
That's fine.
We did, and it was my fault. I had the contract in front of me and it was on the back of one of the pages. So my apologies for that. But the cost for path lasers is $7,000 per school site for a year license.
Okay.
Thank you. Member Chima,
Okay.
does that satisfy your question?
It satisfies, yeah, it satisfies. So I also am wondering if some of the local schools, they do the fundraising and they can afford to do that, or all school sites, they have the site funds if they want to make that choice to sign up for this one or spend the money somewhere else.
So this would be in alignment with any other school site as a part of their student plan for student achievement in the allocation of their resources. If there is interest that is supported by the school site councils, then they would allocate funds as part of that planning process to provide these types of products for their students and teachers.
Thank you so much. That's it.
Okay, I do have one item for staff direction. This is one thing that we had talked about. And I would like for the staff to explore at a very broad level, the level of effort and cost related to, well, let me step back here. I want to make sure that I want to put this, I want to put the staff in a direction where we're exploring the cost of upgrading our student information system because, like I said, not only is it something, it actually can save us money in some integration. So as an example with Schoolmint, because we had to have a very specific type of integration, we actually had to pay $30,000 more because we didn't have a system that could basically just plug into the API. So I guess the question is, from this board, we can do a couple different things. Number one, we could just direct the staff to just do some very broad-based investigation about the pros and cons and capital costs of upgrading the system, or we could spawn off a technology subcommittee to explore this more deeply. I would like to understand, what the board would like to do. And I'd also like to hear feedback from staff, specifically Dr. Thompson, on, maybe a recommended direction.
Yeah, and I can address that. So this is work as soon as we've already identified this as a significant area of need, and we'll be planning shortly after we get everything on our systems completely stabilized, we'll be embarking on this journey of looking at other SIS systems. Believe it or not, there was money already pre-budgeted for this because this is not a new conversation. So we are going to be undergoing that, and we can either I can give the board regular updates on the process. Obviously we'll do vetting of vendors. We'll narrow it down using a criteria. We'll invite people in for to be part of that process. And certainly, we could use either an offshoot of an existing committee or have another committee that could be part of that process as well.
All right.
We're going to do the work, so that's going to happen. You don't need to worry about that. I guess what level of engagement does the board want to have is the better question there.
I think very broadly, just level of, I think that what I'd like to do is I'd probably like to walk that back and maybe not. It seems like you already have that as work that you're already doing. So more of a high level update. What I was really looking for was like t-shirt sizing, which is this, how many hundreds of thousands of dollars is this? What's the timeline? What are the costs and what are the benefits? Just as an exploratory tool, so we can see. I don't think it's really if, because I think based on what I understand, I think it's definitely something that we need to do. The question is, depending on the answers to those questions, is when do we do it, right? Is it part of a 3-year plan or a 2-year plan, or do we need to accelerate it? What are the forcing functions that's going to really drive this technology decisions? So why don't I do this? Why don't I pull that back off of the request, but just know it's something that we should probably keep track of, and I would like for the board, and maybe we could bring this up at a future meeting under the governance section, is if it's the will of the board, we should maybe create a subcommittee based specifically on educational technology. That's where I'll leave it. So nothing more to do at this point, other than know that I think the board is interested in moving our technology forward. Okay. Any other items for the board consensus? Member Chima.
I don't have anything new, but I would like to add to the conversation you were just having about the technology. I think since we are in the virtual world now, I think it's very important for us to understand that how many systems or softwares our school district is using, like you said, broad from the bigger picture, and then how they talk to each other, and who is using what, like teachers, staff, classified. So because there are so many, I would like to understand that how they talk, how they integrate with each other, how they talk to each other, and which one are going out, which one are the long term, and have that kind of sense overall.
Yeah, I think we had a similar conversation about this a couple years ago when we were talking about kind of a coordinated technology plan, which is like, for example, we had this conversation around, okay, we've got EdLeo and we've got this other thing over here. Is there overlap? Are we getting the biggest bang for our buck out of this technology? So I guess what's the best way for us to articulate that request to staff? Is it around like a technology audit? Just so that the board has an overview of the technology, because I remember the last time we talked about this, the report that we got back from staff was really around kind of network architecture, and it was around, this is like the bandwidth that we have, and these are all the switches that we have, which is, I don't think what you're asking, and it wasn't what I was asking either. So I think it was just maybe a technology overview of the systems that we use and what are they all for.
Yeah.
Can I just let you know right now, I totally understand the need to ask staff to do this right now. This is not a small task. We have software programs spanning the entire district on the ed services side at each individual sites, in the business services department, in the M&O department. What you're asking for, as I'm hearing it, would take a lot of time. And a lot of and it's going to take tech time. I cannot afford to have our tech guys doing anything other than solely working on what we have right now. So I would respectfully ask that we postpone this request.
That's what I was going to say. Because right now we're focused on reopening and making sure that our instruction is going out to the students as effectively as possible. And there's no way we could avoid this, but I don't think we need to rush into this because of the amount of time it would require. But we definitely will head that directions. But I actually do suggest that we need to give the staff and everyone the time to get a hold of what we need to take care of right now.
Yeah.
And then when there is a breather, we could start. We don't want the whole gamut. We could just start and update us on where we are. We know where we're headed. We know where we want to head. And then let's get it in chunks so it's not overwhelming.
Yeah, I don't actually disagree with anything that you said, Member Canlis, or even the superintendent said. What I believe this this agenda item is to start tracking the things that we want to see. Doesn't mean you have to start on it right now, right? I think the point is we just register that this is something that the board wants, and it doesn't necessarily have to have a timeline as of like the end of Q4 of 2020. Like, we should keep it on the agenda so that we can track it so we don't drop it.
I fully understand the need, and we're doing that internally anyway, as reviewing. I mean, this is how we got to the SIS system needing. We're looking at all these bridges and all these different programs that we have.
Yeah.
And it called that. So we are doing that, chunk by chunk. We've been doing that in communication advocacy, looking at, for example, some of how our websites are set up, some of the different systems, and it's but to do so I appreciate that, and I will keep all of that in mind as we're moving forward with the board's desires. I'm just trying to avoid the full comprehensive. That's just not something we can.
I agree, and maybe this is something for us to actually put on the technology plan. Like, this would probably be job number one if we had a technology committee at some point to kind of just get an overall technology assessment. But I understand the sensitivity around staff's time, especially at this really important moment. But I did want to at least log it as an item to track, and that we should probably map it to somewhere on our strategic plan, be it a 2 or a 3 year plan. But I did want to call that out as something that I wanted to. I, as an individual board member, would like to start tracking this as something that we're just going to keep.
It makes sense. It really makes sense.
And I wanted to add, again, one of my questions was, now that IT services is really in demand all over the district, I'm wondering if we even have enough people to just address those concerns right now, let alone adding other stuff.
Yeah, and I agree. And I think it can wait. I just want it logged.
Thank you. Yeah, I got it.
Perfect. Okay. Got it. Thank you.
Okay, cool. Is there anything more for consensus? All right, looks like we're all out of topics. So with that, seeing no further items, we are adjourned. Thanks,
Thank you.
everybody.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night. Thank you.
Everybody.
Bye.